didn't take a single. He didn't take his single shot in Game 1 unless it was from the free throw line. At what point in time does the Hawks really start bringing Kyle Korver off the bench and figure out a way to get Dennis Schroeder more minutes? At what point in time in the series do you do it, or is it too late?
It's definitely not too late. It's only Game 2, and they're heading back to Atlanta. So, I mean, I think they should start doing it right away, ASAP, like immediately. Kyle Korver's been pretty stinky this entire year. I mean, you got to give it, the fact that he's 35 years old. I mean, he has aged a little bit. So, it kind of comes with the territory. But at this point in time, man, you got to pull him, give Schroeder the minutes. I mean, if not, at least put in Cephalosha. I mean, you got kind of some options. I mean, even Tim Hardaway Jr. He could probably shoot a little better right now. But Kyle Korver's he's not really getting it done. He got to do something. But I would test out Schroeder at that shooting guard position because, as he stated, he wants to be a starter and he's going to do what it takes to be a starter to come next year. So, I mean, I would try him out that shooting guard position.
We're going to take a break here at Full Court Press Radio here on the Happy Hour Network and the Full Court Press Radio app. When we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Atlanta Hawks and Dennis Schroeder, and then we'll start talking Western Conference. We got 2 games going on this weekend, including the Golden State Warriors and the Portland Trail Blazers, and the other series, which involves the San Antonio Spurs and Oklahoma City Thunder. They have very, very important Game 3s coming up. So we'll take a break. Be back in a minute and a half for me and Eric close the show out.
We're all born with the blues, whether we want to admit it or not. Though you'll truly experience the blues from a different yet very unique perspective when you visit Yippee-Ki-Yay Blues. At Yippee-Ki-Yay Blues, you'll experience some amazing sounds from aspiring talented musicians in the blues genre. Be sure to download Yippee-Ki-Yay Blues Android app from Google Play Store and get wired to the Rattled Beach Show on Friday nights. Blues on! YippieKiABlues.com.
NBA Lead will be your ultimate destination for up-to-the-moment expert commentary on all trending NBA topics and headlines. The digital broadcast network will offer hours of live content, plus more than hundreds of on-demand videos each week. It provides news, highlights, live look-ins, our own analysis, music, and conversations from around the NBA world. Moving at the speed of Twitter, it pushes from headline to headline, topic to topic. When all said and done, NBA Lead will bring the fans what they want, when they want. NBA Lead, for the fans, by the fans.
Are you looking for some sick sports apparel? DHTK designed some of the newest and coolest brands such as Represent, Game Over, and Don't Hate the King. DHTK's vision is to integrate culture, fashion, and attitude that best represents the players and caters to us, the fans. Click on DHTK.com and subscribe to their mailing list for an automatic 10% off your order. If you are a basketball fan, follow DHTK on social media. Visit DHTK.com for more details. DHTK.com. You don't have to be a king to dress like one.
We are back for Full Court Press Radio here on the Happy Hour Network and the Full Court Press Radio app. 347-857-1947. Hanging out with myself, Danny Thompson, and my main man, Eric Cisneros of NBAFCPRadio.com. Last segment of the show, Eric, and let's get into the other series in town. Oh, yeah, by the way, big shout out to our good friend Danny Newfield, who is at the Raptors and Heat game right now. I think Danny texted me earlier and let me know that he's going to be wearing a Dwayne Wade jersey somewhere in the middle of the Raptors crowd in Jurassic Park. So hopefully Danny can make it out, especially if the Raptors lose. Hopefully he can make it back home. But big shout out to our good friend at DHTK. Don't hate the king. And also, let's talk about one of their guys that wears the game over, that's GAM 30 OVER, the Golden State Warriors, in Game 3 coming up tomorrow as the Golden State Warriors take on the Portland Trail Blazers. Eric, I'm sorry, this game is actually on Friday. Let's talk about the Warriors for a minute, Eric. And Steve Kerr said that Stephen Curry will not play in Game 3. It looks like he's very doubtful for Game 3. Smart move, by Kerr holding him out of Game 3, or you think it's time to give Curry some kind of minutes?
No, I think it's a completely smart move. As a matter of fact, I hope they keep Curry out the entire series. I mean, I have the Golden State Warriors sweeping the Trailblazers in 4 without Curry, regardless. I mean, it's not like they really need him. They can handle Portland on their own. The main concern for me is for Curry to get right. That way, that when they face the San Antonio Spurs or even potentially the Oklahoma City Thunder, as you like, it's going to be a slugfest and it's going to be a bloodbath. And they're going to need every single person, including the league's best player in Steph Curry. So, I mean, he needs to get right. If anything, on the closeout game, probably put him on the bench, suit him up, and maybe play him about 20 minutes to kind of get his rhythm back. But outside of that, they don't need him. I mean, keep him at home, keep him on ice, wrap him in bubble wrap, do whatever you can. Just don't let him play. Don't have him play Game 3. He doesn't need to be there.
Exactly. Eric, we got a caller on the line. So, caller, what's your name and where you calling from? And what's on your mind?
Hey, guys, it's Oliver. How's it going?
Speaking of our good friend, is that Oliver Maroney?
It is.
Maroney.
Oliver Maroney in the house. For the guys who don't know, Oliver Maroney is our good friend from About.com. Also, the man that picked the Portland Trailblazers in round 1 over the LA Clippers. Wow, this is a surprise call. And actually, we're talking about the Golden State Warriors. So Oliver calls it at the perfect time.
Perfect time.
Oliver,
hey guys,
Game 3 is in Portland tomorrow night. I'm sorry,
Yep.
it's actually set for Friday night. I'm sorry. Game 3, Stephen Curry probably won't play. Is this the game Damian Lillard goes for 50 points again?
I don't know if Damian goes for 50, but I think the Blazers will end up winning these 2 games at home and then bring it back to Golden State.
Wow. Not one, but both. In your eyes, in Game 1 and Game 2, it seemed like the Blazers looked just completely out of it. Klay Thompson was just hitting threes left and right. Draymond Green was being Draymond Green, and Bogut was being that defensive presence. So what, in your eyes, why do you think the Blazers can win these next 2 games at home?
So the Blazers have a home court advantage, obviously, and I don't know if it's going to be as big as the Clippers series, but I think the other thing that's interesting about this series is the Blazers have actually won 6 of the 8 quarters in the first 2 games of the series. I think they outscored them like 170-something to 150-something as far as points go in those quarters. But looking at it in that aspect, they've actually won quite a few of the, like I said, 3 quarters of the quarters the Blazers have won. And so I think, bring it back home. Terry Stotts will make some more adjustments this next game. And I think the other thing that's interesting as well is Damian and McCollum really haven't had their time to shine, both of them at the same time. Dame has had a pretty good series, but he's struggled from the field, especially in the fourth quarter of this last game. And so I look to see those 2 potentially get a better efficiency out of them.
See, my whole thing, Oliver, this one is that it just seems like in this series that it's not the fact of Portland being undermanned, is that they're being underclassed. So in Game 3, who is your biggest X factor? We know you talk C.J. McCollum, I know you talk Damian Lillard, but who is the biggest X factor in your eyes outside of those 2 guys that can make a humongous impact to help the Blazers win?
So the big impact here is I think Al-Farouq Aminu is the key to this series. I think if he can play defensively well against whoever he's matched up against, whether that's Draymond Green, if he's matched up against potentially an Iguodala or a Harrison Barnes, I think Aminu is really the key to this series. The Blazers rely on his 3-point percentage and his 3-point shooting, and he's been just hit and miss all season long. But in games where he scores over 20 points, I believe they're like 4 or 5-0. And so looking at it in that aspect, I think he's really the X factor in this series is being able to have him as an offensive weapon as well as being able to be good on the defensive end of the court.
We got 5 minutes left for Oliver Maroney, 347-857-1947. Check with me, Eric, and now Oliver. Oliver, let's talk Spurs and Thunder before we check out of here. Eric, you got to chime in on this one too.
Yes,
Game 3 is tomorrow night. We saw the shenanigans in Game 2, all the missed calls. Now it's out of the way. We can't go back and fix it. The only thing we're wondering is that fan going to get banned for grabbing Steven Adams because the NBA seems to not know that play actually existed. I've said all season long the Thunder win this series. Do the Thunder win both games in Oklahoma City starting tomorrow night? Eric, go first.
San Antonio, they sweep them from here on out. That was their only win that Oklahoma City was going to get. I had that prediction of 4-1, and I'm going to stick to it.
Oliver, your thoughts?
Man, it's going to be tough. I mean, Oklahoma City really has struggled in late parts of games, and you see it even in the win against the Spurs. That was a lucky draw there. I know that there was a lot of fouls and all the rest of that mumbo jumbo, I guess you could call it, in the last 5 seconds of the game. But I think the Spurs will end up winning this series, even though Oklahoma City now has home court, and even though I thought that Oklahoma City would give them a very good series. I just, for whatever reason, Popovich is great at making adjustments and making his team get out of situations like this. So I expect the Spurs, I'm going to say 7 games.
All right, guys. X factor, each guy takes one team. I'm going to since Eric is picking Oklahoma City, the Spurs for the series, Eric, the biggest X factor for the Thunder in Game 3. Who do you got?
Serge Ibaka. I mean, if he could play anything like he's capable of playing, or the way he should be playing, then, yeah, they can make it a tough series, because you already know what you're going to get out of Russell Westbrook. You already know what you're going to get out of Kevin Durant. But if Serge Ibaka could actually start rebounding for once and stop with his love fest of perimeter shots, probably take it in a little bit more, bruise some people up, that right there would be the key to me, because outside of what he's been doing lately, it just hasn't been inspiring. But if he could pick it up and be the Ibaka that we all know he could be, I mean, he'd be the ultimate X factor in my eyes.
Oliver, Spurs. Who's the biggest X factor in Game 3 for the Spurs?
Danny Green, guys. Danny Green. And I love LaMarcus Aldridge. I love Tony Parker. I love the way they play and do things. But Danny Green, if he can hit that outside jumper, the Spurs are almost unstoppable. And the thing about Danny Green is he is hit and miss. He's inconsistent a lot of the time. He's great on defense, don't get me wrong, but offensively, if he can get it going, it's going to be really, really hard to stop the Spurs.
I'm going to have to agree with him on that one. That was a solid pick.
Because I know that in talking to Paul Garcia on Tuesday, he was saying that Kevin Martin probably won't be, Andre Miller will be unavailable more likely, and we probably won't see Kevin Martin in the series either. So Danny Green has to be a guy hitting shots. I agree with Oliver on that one. I also like Boris Diaw. As long as he's not eating French pastry, Boris Diaw should be just fine. Diaw should cause matchup problems everywhere. He should. As skilled as he is, he should cause way more matchup problems than what he's given. But that's another story for another day. But before we check out, Oliver, you got a podcast that I listened to for the very first time last night. I know it's not much time, but in about 45 seconds, tell everybody about this podcast and where to find it, because I listened to it last night when I was doing some work about 3 a.m. It was thoroughly entertained. So talk about it.
Yeah, so Ronnie Turiev actually hit me up out of the blue, and we've been talking about it back and forth about doing a podcast series. So he wanted to talk about kind of like his struggles, his career overall, his friendship with Kobe Bryant. And also a lot of people don't know, but he had a really major heart condition coming into the NBA draft. He spent like 7 hours in surgery with open heart surgery, almost at a whim. And so he wanted to kind of go in depth and go inside and give people access that they wouldn't normally get by, giving them an opportunity to listen to how his career unfolded and really look inside the man, the myth, the legend that is Ronnie Turiev. So we've got a podcast series up for that. It's on SoundCloud. You can find it on my Twitter at O'Maroney. And I found him to be just a spectacular individual, just one of a kind.
Oliver, what's that SoundCloud channel?
It should be under the KO Show, so that's kind of like my podcast network or whatever you want to call it. But it should be under the Ronnie Turiev series. If you just type in on SoundCloud Ronnie Turiev series, that's the first thing that pops up. It's got almost 2,000 views now in just like 2 or 3 days, so it is really picking up some steam lately.
And like I said, it is a definitely must-listen podcast. I'm telling you, if you haven't listened to it, I was thoroughly entertained and learned so much about Ronnie Turiev. But we got 30 seconds left here at Full Court Press Radio here on the Happy Hour Network and the Full Court Press Radio app. I want to thank our good friend Oliver Maroney for the surprise phone call and checking in with us tonight. Maybe he'll be with us on Tuesday. For myself, Eric Cisneros, we're gonna check